Over 1 million teachers use iExcel in their classrooms every day for one reason. They love it. Why? iExcel is where the magic happens. With just one platform, teachers can personalize learning for every student. iExcel gives teachers all the tools they need to enhance and differentiate instruction without adding work to their plates. Plus, iExcel has decades of expertise and has proven to be effective. Studies on more than 70,000 schools across nearly 50 states show that those who use iExcel outperform others on state tests. Ready to bring the magic to your school? Visit iexcel.com/PM to learn more.
You're listening to Monday Matters, a Principal Matters podcast production.
Hi, friends. This is Will Parker back with my co-host, Dr. Jen Schwanke, for another Monday Matters. Jen, it's the end of June by the time this comes out, and I'm just going to, listeners know you and I record in batches. So by the time this recording comes out, Missy and I will have gone to Chicago. Missy, then I will have flown to Dallas and been with the Texas Association of Secondary School Principals. And then I will have spent a week, if God willing, with a retired friend of mine who loves to sail, and he's offered to take Jack and me out for a few days on his boat. And then I will be, as of probably the moment this is dropping, returning from a trip to rural Ohio. So I'm waving to you from there with the group that I've been working with there, Utica Shale Academy, which is a career tech center in southeastern Ohio. And we'll have spent a day together on a leadership retreat. And then my summer's kind of starting at this point, so I'm going to try to, use July. I'm setting my summer hours. I'm trying to just, work a couple of hours a day, or a block of time, but really just take some time to rest and rejuvenate. How about you? What's going to be going on with you this summer?
Well, when listeners listening to this on the 22nd, I'm packing my bags because I'm going to supervise a bunch of teenagers on a trip to Italy and Greece. My district works with a travel organization. Well, you and I have talked about this, and we call them the global travel trips. And so I'll be working with another teacher, and we're taking some kids on a trip to Italy and Greece. So that will be fun. But Will, you and I are both still going to be producing this podcast. So
Yeah.
Listeners, as you take your walk on the beach or in the woods or down the sidewalk with your dog, keep tuning in because we'll be here Monday Mattersing and we'll be Wednesday flagship showing.
Mm-hmm. We will be. And man, Jen, I can't wait to talk to you when you get back from those trips too. And because you know me, I'm an adventure seeker, so I just can't wait to hear what that's been like for you. Can we talk about one of your latest posts? Because people may be listening to this as they're rejuvenating, and others may be listening to this right in the middle of summer work, or if you're on the other side of the globe, you might be in the middle of a school year still too. But you wrote a post recently called the let them theory. Can you set that up for leaders and why this applies to their leadership, but only if they're actually leading?
Right. So yeah, I found some tension that I needed to unravel inside of my own brain. I really like the work Mel Robbins is doing with her let them theory. And if you've passed any sort of bookstore, this book is right up front and center. And Mel Robbins has certainly popularized this concept, but it actually originated with a poem by someone named Cassie Phillips. And really what this is about is you can't control other people. You've got to let them be what they are. And you can Google, find the podcast about this. And that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about here is my struggle. When I first heard about the let them theory, it was truly freeing. It was a personal breakthrough, I would say. But I struggled because professionally, I was like, well, I can't just let them come to work whenever they want. Let them not teach the subject that they're supposed to teach. Let them be unkind to one another, students or parents or whatever. And so I'm like, well, I can't just let them professionally. I'm literally paid to not let them do certain things. And so I really thought about that for probably about a year. I was thinking about it. And here's where I was able to resolve that tension. It's both, right? So for listeners, think about whoever it is that you oversee. We need to hold them accountable and develop the expectations that we have for them. Be clear with our standards. and set the systems. Well, you and I have talked about systems ad nauseum on this show. It's so critical that we have systems in place. And then when we put things into place, when we implement, when we roll out, when we guide, when we lead, it's their reactions where we have to trigger the let them mindset. And so I tell the story where, years ago, I was an assistant principal and there was a problem that we needed to solve. And I got a group together. We came up with a solution. I implemented it. I said, hey, here's how we're going to move forward. And about half the people thought I was a genius and about half the people were livid. I had to just let that be. It was a lot more pleasant for me, for the people that I let think I was a genius. But I also had to let the people that were angry and upset feel that way. And many times as a leader, I would obsess about those things and wish that they, why are they mad at me? I'm only trying to help them. I'm working really hard. I have to let that all go. Let them feel the way they're going to feel. And they need that too. And that's where, to me, the let them theory can be a professional breakthrough as well as a personal one.
Well, it certainly is an invitation to sanity
Right.
because here's the thing, Jen. Maybe this is also something that's been an epiphany for me as a parent now that my kids are all grown too, looking back at how hard we try to control. And we do this in classrooms, we do this in schools, we do this in relationships, we do this with our children. But you know what? I'm just going to list things you can't control. You can't control someone's feelings. You can't control their reactions. You can't control the weather. You can't control people's ultimate choices. And you can't ultimately control their actions. You can set the standards and the boundaries for accountability and communicate those and respond when people cross them. But you're not in control. You're not God. And so I think it's so important as a measure for me of sanity to just go, okay. It doesn't change my commitment to how I'm going to move forward or what we're going to do next, but it certainly can take the pressure off of me having to knee-jerk react every time someone does something that irritates me or that bothers me. I'll give you an example too. The number of times that someone would come to me, especially when you're in a position of leadership, to let you know that someone is upset with you. And that's okay. Sometimes I needed to be told because I just wasn't aware. But if my response to that was to try to fix it, I usually was going to make a mistake. Usually my response to that had to be just awareness. Okay, they're upset with me. Now I'm still going to move forward with what I believe is most important for kids and students and teachers. And if I need to go repair that relationship because I did something that for which I can own, I'll do that. But if our goal is to, and I think this may be, I'm going to speak to listeners, for those especially coming out of a classroom setting to a campus setting, there are some people who have very strong control measures within their classrooms. They feel very in control. And to a point, that may be because they have such great processes and procedures and routines. It may be because, can I just be an adult? Because you're a hard ass and people just do what you tell them. When you're trying to lead across an entire community of adults and kids, you have to have a measure of both firm resolve, but also a measure of thick skin, of also just letting things roll off of you when things happen too, Jen. So let me stop ranting and let you continue.
Well, and I also want to point out that this works in reverse too, in a positive way.
Yeah.
I hired a teacher once, a second grade teacher, and I thought she was going to be fantastic. And she was for about 2 days. And then she came to school and her eyes were red and swollen and she had been crying. And then a few days later, she was sobbing in my office. I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I've made terrible decisions in my career. I'm leaving. I'm quitting. And so there I am looking at 25 7-year-olds who don't have a teacher, and I have to hire a sub, and I couldn't. It was someone who had to be a sub for the year. It was a mess. And one of the things she said to me as she turned in her final resignation letter, she said, "I don't want you to be mad at me." And I remember saying to her, "You need to let me be mad about this. Like, I'm in a pickle. I will get over it, but let me." right? Let
Yeah.
me feel this way. And it reminded me almost eerily so of a time my daughter, she was about 4, and she said the same thing to me. She had done something, you know, not all that helpful. And I was mad. And she said, "Don't be mad at me." And I said, "You got to let me be mad about this. I'll come back around." And it's the same with any emotion. Let me be sad. Let me be frustrated. Let me be all up in my feelings. And then I will come back down and we'll work through this problem. So we have to let them feel the way they
No.
feel. And it's perfectly fine to ask others to let us do the same. And the beauty and strength of leadership is if we have those reciprocal, respectful lanes that we can travel through, then we can get through what we need to do and feel and
Mhm.
come out on the other side with solutions. That's my biggest thing with leadership. When there's problems, you just got to work towards solutions, but sometimes you got to let them feel the way they need to feel.
Wow, Jen. Yeah, so much wisdom there, but I'm thinking back now to because I did student discipline for so long as an
Mhm.
AP for 9 years. Um, and I remember learning to say to students, "I'm really disappointed in you. You've broken my trust. Um, but I also I haven't stopped caring about you, and
Mhm.
I'm committed to figuring out what we're gonna do to rebuild it." Both those things can be true at the same time. So thank you for reminding us that we have permission to be real. We can be real with each other. People have big feelings and sometimes, and they're definitely going to let you know when you're the leader
Right.
what those feelings are.
Right.
And so how you manage those, letting people have their feelings is an important part of just letting them be human. But the flip side of that is that you still stay committed to the things that you know are going to be the most important outcomes and the best practices towards what's going to make a
Right.
flourishing community for kids and teachers.
Well, and let's be clear with our listeners. This is not saying, just let them be, be mad at me, or, to
Right.
make decisions that are reckless or careless or impulsive and then say, well, let them feel what they need to feel. That's not at all what we're saying. What
Yeah.
I think I'm saying here is, we're working with humans
Mhm.
and their responses are fair and legitimate if, as I say in the subtitle of this newsletter, the let them theory applies if we're really leading. If
There
we're
you go.
making sound decisions and if we are being careful to think about all the components and predict the feelings and be ready for them, then I think that's where let them goes. This is not an invitation to be reckless. As a matter of fact, it's an invitation to be careful and thoughtful and then let them respond how they need to.
Oh my, this is so rich. So Principal Matters listeners, Jen and I, these Monday Matters are bringing you our current thoughts. And then of course, as we step into summer, we're recording these in a little bit shorter versions than we normally do. But as Jen, as we're wrapping up, I'm just thinking about um, the two sides to that coin of leadership, which that one side is strong accountability, and the other side is freedom. Um, and I think I did this as a young educator. I would judge my leaders because I would be like, I wish they would, hold people accountable, or I wish they'd let us have more freedom. And the truth is that a good leader does both.
Right.
And so if you are able to set the standards, the expectations, the goals, the schedules, the priorities, then you're able also to give people the autonomy, the freedom, the permission to just feel and be upset about things and not feel like you have to constantly respond to every
Mhm.
one of those. You are not in charge of other people's feelings.
Right.
And that's so hard to learn. And I think sometimes we do a disservice to leaders by telling them, like when a leader coughs, their whole building catches a cold, and we put this undue pressure on leaders
Mhm.
that it's all up to them. It's completely up to them how the outcomes of their schools are going to be, and that's unfair. But it is up to leaders to set the standard on the one hand, and then on the other hand, to let go of the
Right.
things you can't control.
Well, and there is a great saying, I can't control what you think about me. I can't control your opinion about me. And that's so true. I think it's worth reminding our listeners. We should probably put that on some calendar to do it every couple months. You can do your best. You can work your hardest. You can be the first car in and the last car out. You can work yourself to a bone, and there's still going to be people who don't like you. So that's a relentless pursuit of an impossible outcome there. And so the only solution then is to work on your own mind and your own acceptance and letting them feel the way they need to feel, provided your leadership is sound.
Wow. Okay, Jen, you've got me really thinking deeply about
This
some
is fun.
things. No, it is.
This is why we love Monday Matters right here.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking about so many scenarios where I've seen people either mistreat others or unload on others or vent on others, and sometimes you can work through those situations, and sometimes you just have to let it roll.
Right.
And but as we wrap up, would you mind sharing your rule of 10 again? Because that's something that's been helpful for me as I think about when should I respond and when I should maybe just let it go.
So the 4-10s rule is, if you have to ask yourself, is this going to matter in 10 minutes? And if the answer is no, then you don't think about it again. Is it going to matter in 10 hours, 10 days, 10 months? And you can even add 10 years, because there are some things there that they will still matter in 10 years. Somebody will still be at playing cards with their friends and say, guess what Jen Schwanke did this one time? And it will still be a traumatic experience, right? If I'm going to do something that's going to have a negative effect on someone in 10 years, I need to really think that through. And also, to back up, let it go if it's 10 minutes. Maybe let it go if it's 10 hours, if it's still going to matter. If in 10 months or 10 years, it's still going to have a negative impact, you need to change course. But if it's going to have a positive impact, you need to stay the course and let them feel the way that they're going to feel. But if it's going to make your organization, your students, your community, your parents, your teachers a better place, it's absolutely worth sticking with.
Oh my gosh, what a great way to wrap up. Well, Principal Matters listeners, if you haven't already subscribed for Jen's newsletter, you need to do it right now. So Jen, how can leaders connect with you in your wonderful newsletter?
Oh, that's so nice. JenSchwanke.com is my website, and there's a place there they can subscribe.
And you can find today's post and all of the resources, our past episodes, at williamdparker.com. And Jen, I almost hesitate to say this because people don't need something to do in the summer, but I just also want to be generous and remind them that as they're planning their own PD and their own development and growth, that you and I do a lot of coaching and presenting, speaking with leaders, with staff, with one-on-one. And so reach out if the thing that Jen and I are doing with leaders is something that would help you or your teams. And the reason I had to remind myself to say that is I have been in a working relationship with a district now for probably 6 years. And that superintendent told me I had said that at the end of a show one time, and she was like, "Oh, I guess I'll reach out and see what." Just reach out and see if Will's good on his word. And we've been doing stuff together since. So every once in a while, I just have to remind myself to say that, because it's just an opportunity to build more relationships. So thank you, Jen, for everything you do. And Principal Matters listeners, thank you for doing what matters. And we'll talk to you again soon. Find free resources like this one at williamdparker.com. Subscribe for our free weekly newsletter, which contains bonus material, and also check out the links for Grow Academies, Masterminds, executive coaching, and keynote presentations from my books, as well as from Principal Matters Associates. You can find out more under our speakers tab at williamdparker.com. Thank you for learning together, and thank you for doing what matters.
Monday Matters.